What do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I've got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
You know we need them. Yes, we do. We need those strategies, don't we?
Oh, we do.
Those strategies for living. So are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Ooh, I am ready
I
today.
knew you would be.
I hope everybody else is ready.
I hope so. We all need to buckle our respective seatbelts. Hey, folks, welcome into Strategies for a Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian. And do you remember, you didn't watch the Super Bowl. You were in and out during the Super Bowl.
I'm kind of a hopper with those things.
You weren't watching.
No.
You weren't watching when A.J. Brown, they showed a shot at the Super Bowl of A.J. Brown reading a book.
Yes.
And the book.
So I've heard.
The book is called Inner Excellence. And you're going to have to pinch me.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're going to have to pinch me.
All
Reach
right.
over here and do it. Because we're interviewing the author of Inner Excellence today,
Yes.
Jim Murphy.
Couldn't ask for better.
He is our life strategist today. I couldn't have even imagined, just a couple months ago, seeing A.J. Brown on the sidelines reading this book and thinking, oh, we're going to be interviewing that guy. But here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Life happens that way, doesn't it?
It's we've got that chair in our office that says there are no coincidences, right?
Right. Yep.
And I think the story, but the what's in the book and the story about the book really underscores, Lauren, the fact that there are no coincidences, because and I'll let Jim tell you more of the story, like the great Paul Harvey used to say. I will let him tell the rest of the story. But there's a story, and then there's a story.
Absolutely.
And you're going to hear it all right here.
Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, on Strategies for Living. Folks, thank you. Thank you for being with us here on Strategies. And we appreciate you. We do this program for you each and every day, and we can do it because of our wonderful sponsors, the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. Back in a moment to meet life strategist Jim Murphy, #1 New York Times best-selling author of Inner Excellence. That's today. Your own Strategies for Living. Come back with us.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem trapped. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Let's welcome into the program Jim Murphy. He is a performance coach to some of the very best athletes and leaders in the world. He started his career as a professional baseball player in the Chicago Cubs organization. And after experiencing some vision issues that ended his playing career, He coached with the Texas Rangers as well as the South African Olympic baseball team. He's worked with some of the world's best golfers, including world champion, FedEx Cup champions, and world's number ones. The majority of Murphy's clients have the best year of their careers in their first year working with him. Hey, Jim Murphy, welcome into Strategies.
Welcome.
Thank you, Doctor.
And let's go by David and Lauren. How about that?
You bet.
So, wow, that's all I've got to say. You got to pinch me, like I said, that I was watching when the shot panned to the sidelines, AJ Brown's holding up inner excellence, and here we are talking. How do you even make sense of that, Jim?
Well, yeah, it's if you'd been there my whole life, you'd see God training me for many years for this moment. And of course, I couldn't see it when it was all happening. Now, looking back, I can see it all unfolding. But through the hardest times of my life, I couldn't see that God was training me, or if He was, I just felt like I was trying to learn something in that moment. But now I see all of the hardest times of my life, God was training me for this moment and for going forward.
This book, and I'll hold it up here to the radio so everybody can see it. This book, Inner Excellence, it is packed full of stuff that we all need to be aware of today. Yes. To see today, to learn today. How long did it take you to write this book, Jim?
Well, you guys would have finished it much sooner than me because I had a lot of fear. When you're writing a book and you're a full-time author in Western culture, that's cool. Oh man, that's cool. But what happens once you finish the book? What are they saying now? Oh, how many copies are you selling? And I had a fear that my mom was the only one going to read it. So it took me 5 years full-time writing and research, 2.5 years in the desert. It was it was a long time.
Yeah. So many people are, they're, and in our entire world, whether we're athletes or whether we're business people or whether we're just down the street working at the supermarket, right? We want to succeed, whatever that definition of success is for us. However, you say that there's something besides winning. There's something besides winning gold medals. There's something besides world championships. There's something beside, the number of zeros in your bank account. And you say, I need to clarify my life purpose and kind of focus on love and wisdom and courage. But see, Jim, I don't care about anything except that
fancy car.
Yeah, that fancy car, that success.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've been there.
Yeah, so talk to us about that. Why is it important? Why is it important to focus on love and purpose?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess the first thing is to know is that I don't tell people what to do. None of my clients, I don't say you should do. I never say you should do this, you should do that. What I do is ask them a lot of questions about what they really want and help them clarify what they really want, and I help them get it. And I also, I have a little bit of experience with this, and I know that they're going to come to me. They're going to say, "Oh, I want to be world number one," or "I want to win Olympic gold medal," or "I want to become CEO," or get that promotion. And I know that's just the symbol of what they want. What they really want is amazing experiences and deep, enriching relationships where they feel fully alive and they're learning and growing and sharing that with their family and friends and making a difference in the world. That's what people really want. But they tell me I want this symbol. I want to get this trophy or this world number one or more money or whatever. And so I help them think deeply on how they want to feel in their life and what they value most and the type of person they want to become. And I help them get that. And then when we focus on that, then everything else is added to them in a much more powerful way.
What are, Jim, the greatest opponents that any of us are ever going to face?
Well, I think fear is the number one. Fear is, if you want to be a great coach, great parent, a great friend, and really help somebody, you need to get deep into what do they fear most, what do they dream about most, and understand human nature. If you don't understand human nature, and that we're hardwired for love, that we're born with this self-centered human nature,
Yep.
and so if you have no system, no plan, that self-centeredness is going to move you towards anxiety and fear, because that's how we're built. We have this um, nature that's always looking, and that's how the world is. We gotta look both ways when we cross the street and feed ourselves and clean the house and do all those things. But we got a part of ourselves in our heart that the greatest need we all have is for unconditional love.
Yeah.
It's our greatest need, our greatest desire, greatest power. And the ego leverages that, say, hey, you get a little more success, a little more money, more followers, you're going to get that thing you want most, but it's an empty pursuit.
Yeah.
How can our listeners begin to let go of that fear-based thinking and start leading with love and trust instead?
Well, immediately, if you just understanding that, hey, if the listener's having a hard time in their life right now, and it's really hard, and we've all had really hard times, if you bend over backwards to help someone else out right now, then it'll help you as much or more than them. And so that's an immediate thing. It's to understand that we're created for relationship, and you help someone else, especially someone that you don't know well, and really help them. And if they can't pay you back, then that's the most powerful. So that's where we start. I mean, that's something place you can start. But really, inner excellence is about heart transformation and understanding that most of my life for Jim Murphy has been, I've obsessed about temporary superficial things like money and success and looking good so people would love me, and I really want the love, but I've been trying to get it through places that are temporary and unstable.
Yeah. A shift from the mindset of the world to you talk about an inner excellence mindset. So, shifting from winning is everything to, I think what I'm hearing you say is it's an inside out thing. We talk a lot, Lauren and I talk a lot about Jesus a couple of thousand years ago walked around talking about it's within you, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is within. And I think this is what he was pointing to, the same thing that you're talking about, this growing from the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I on target there?
Yeah. So your greatest need is unconditional love. And when we're either walking in love or fear. We're either grateful or we're entitled. There's no in between. And so if you're walking in love, then the more unconditional it is, the more fearless you are. And if you're walking in fear, then there's more self-protection, more neediness, more self-consciousness. What are people thinking about me? And that's kind of if you're caught up with what people are thinking about you, that's walking in fear. If you're caught up in thinking about how you can serve, that's walking in love. And if you're thinking about yourself, now we're getting into fear. So it can be a tough battle, because we have the heart that knows that we really want unconditional love, but we got an ego that's always looking to look good and feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the shift that you talk about, and the world sees, oh gosh, I've got an enemy out there, and the opponent, whoever I'm opposing, whether it's the company I'm going up against or the team I'm going up against or the individual athlete I'm going up against, the opponent is the enemy. And yet the mindset that you talk about is, well, wait a minute. Our opponent is our partner in
Our teacher
in the dance. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Phil Jackson, those are his words, and that really had an impact on me. Let's look at a really violent sport, mixed martial arts.
Oh yeah.
And so that's so violent, like it looks like you're trying to kill the other guy. But think about it, because I thought about this with George St. Pierre, world champion, and he talked about how he would pray for his opponent and give thanks, because obviously without the opponent, then he doesn't have a career.
Right.
And so that's crucial. But also, it's like, who understands him better than his opponent? Is anyone, like, do you think his best friend, unless he's a mixed martial artist as well, or his wife, they're going to understand everything that he's going through as well as their opponent? the opponent has suffered like him. The opponent is trained like him. They know his world. They love the very same things. They're passionate about the same things. And so the opponent is in general, you can think about your opponent as someone who loves what you love, and you're doing it together.
Mm.
And is it better for you to win or him to win? Well, it's the same question, very similar. Well, is it good to give candy to a kid? I mean, there's pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
And so is it the best thing for me to win? Well, you can ask yourself, is everything that I've ever wanted has all been good for me? We don't know what's best for us circumstance and result wise. Was it best for Rory to win the Masters? Who knows?
Yeah.
Is that what he wanted? Of course, that's what he wanted. But was it best for him? We don't know. And when you say best, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Does it mean, when I say best, I mean what's best for you long term? What's going to give you the most stability, the most peace, the most joy, the most meaning? That's kind of what I think about. And short term wins can sometimes, being successful in what you want is the worst thing for you. So it's important to understand. And also, on the same token, sometimes the thing that you think is the worst thing that could ever happen to you is the best thing.
Turns out to be the best thing. We are talking to #1 New York Times bestselling author Jim Murphy today. The book is Inner Excellence, Training Your Mind for Extraordinary Performance in the Best Possible Life. We'll come back and talk a lot more. I want to talk a little bit about beliefs when we come back. Jim Murphy, our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. Stay right where you are. Much more to learn.
Life gets hard along the way. Gotta get through it day by day. We get strategies right here. Strategies for Living Radio.
We got them. We got those strategies right here on Strategies for Living Radio. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Our honor today to have as our life strategist, #1 New York Times bestselling author Jim Murphy. His book, well, you know it. It's called Inner Excellence. You saw A.J. Brown reading it on the sideline of the Super Bowl. You were telling us a story before we went on the air. You said that following up, I think you said the Canadian and that there was
The broadcast was different.
Yeah. What happened? What happened there, Jim?
Oh, a friend of mine in Spain sent me over a video of the Super Bowl, and they're showing all the fans, like a bunch of fans, a dozen or more, all holding books and waving the book during the Super Bowl. So they didn't show that in the American channel. It was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
That is cool.
You couldn't ask for a better promotion.
Yeah, really. All right, so you talk a lot in the book. There's so much in this. This book is packed. This is the kind of book, and Lauren can tell you how I do books, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of book that's going to end up for me underscored, highlighted in various colors,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm probably going to have to buy a second copy because I'm gonna make notes. It's going to be packed with note cards, and by the time I'm going to have to buy a second copy because I'm going to wear out one copy. There's that much packed in here.
Yep.
But one of the things that you do that sets this book apart is you talk a little about beliefs, and you say that your life is a reflection of beliefs. Talk to us a little bit about there. You about that. You talk about beliefs as the control panel of your life.
Oh yeah. Beliefs. What a person believes is the most important thing about them. What they believe about God, what they believe about themselves, about the universe, about what's possible in their lives, what's not possible. Really hard to do anything beyond what you believe. And your beliefs come from feelings that you've had, strong feelings that you've had. And so, inner excellence is really one of the big things is to expand what you believe is possible. And we do that by a big way is to ask yourself, am I willing to face my fears? Am I willing to have and face any feeling? And am I willing to have that feeling that I hate and carry it with me all day if it never goes?
Hmm. Hmm.
So when you understand that beliefs are feelings, not every feeling is a belief, but beliefs are feelings. And so what I want the listeners to get is, so when they come to a stoplight or and they're in the grocery store or at home and have a solitary moment, I want that moment to be filled with a clear mind and an unburdened heart and possibilities.
Yeah.
And in our world, there's so much clutter and fear and anxiety and tension. And so we want to make sure that those feelings that we have in the solitary moments are excited ones and empowering ones. And so that's what inner excellence helps you do: simplify your life, clarify what you want most, and help you lay out a plan to get it.
You were talking about fear, and that's another thing that you talk about in the book, that the root of fear, the root cause of fear, is really self-centeredness. I've read
That's
a
right.
lot through the years about fear, but I don't think I've ever heard it or read it that fear is, is the root of fear, rather, is self-centeredness. So explain that to us. Unpack that a bit for us, Jim.
Yeah, in general, fear is a self-centered future thing. Like, for example, one of the common fears is public speaking. And so the person that's speaking, is the fear is, what will they think about me? They're not afraid of what they're thinking about their neighbor or their boss or their buddy down the road. What will people think about me? It's a self-centered thing. And what will they think after I say something? And so the future, we got the future is where fear sits, and the self. Those are the two main areas. And so the challenge is that we need to think about ourselves to get through the day. And then when we do, our subconscious reminds us of all our weaknesses and all our failures. And so we want to feel better. So we start to compare ourselves to others, and then we get into problems. There's always someone that has more or better things than you. And so then that self-centeredness leads to fear. Whereas selfless is fearless. If there's no concern for self, there's no fear.
Mm.
Yeah. And so, really what the trick is, this you mentioned the ego a moment ago. Now, we all have one. And Lauren and I talk a lot on strategies about the ego. I call it the EMOS, ego mind operating system, to remind myself of how important, it is. A lot of people think it's the enemy. I don't think it's the enemy at all, but I think you have to acknowledge and know that it's there.
Right.
What do you tell your clients? How do you help your clients? Because you're dealing, professional athletes can develop
Quite the ego.
yeah, there can be some pretty big egos there. How do you help them deal with that? How do you help them understand?
Yeah, there's a lot there. So first of all, I'm always defining terms. I want to make sure that we're on the same page when we're talking. And
Yes.
and I never say this is how this word should be defined. I don't use that word should, and I don't even say it's how the dictionary. As I said, this is how I define it, so we can make sure we're speaking the same language. The way I define ego is the part of our mind that we all have that's always threatened, always comparing, never satisfied.
Right. Okay.
And so we all have that. Now, what happens to young kids, and a lot of people, the young kids that become adults, is that they know they want to perform great in life and in sports, and they confuse cockiness with confidence. What's interesting about that is because, well, if I need to be confident, then I need to tell people how good I am. But usually that's just trying to convince yourself. I had a great conversation with a Major League All-Star pitcher a year ago at spring training. And I was telling him during the Inner Excellence retreat with another pro baseball player that being fully present is even more empowering than being confident. And then if you take two people with equal talents, I will take the fully present person every time over the fully confident, because confidence can be careless, and confidence may be false. Like, you may have a good feeling, but it may not be accurate of how, where you're at. Whereas if you're fully present, then you've got the best chance of using all your skills. And he said, that's the exact same thing I found as a Major League Baseball pitcher.
Yeah.
That when I've been confident and dialed in on the mound before I go out there and everything is grooving, in warm up, it doesn't mean I'm going to have a great game. I haven't seen a direct correlation. But I have noticed that when I'm not very good in warm up, then I have a talk to myself. I say, man, I don't care if you walk 10 guys, you are going to be present out there.
Mm.
And he said, those have been some of my best games. And so being present is even more powerful, empowering than being confident. And the ego, that part of mine, see, the problem is in sports and for most people is a lack of freedom. And lack of freedom comes from what will people think if I screw this up? Fear of failure. And that's the ego.
Yeah. So I think you're saying something. This is all so important. How do you teach people to be present more often? How do I be present more often?
The first thing is help them understand, what do I mean? And I think most people that teach how to be present, I think they're underselling what's possible. When I think of being present, I don't even like to use the word too much because it's very cliche, and people just think, well, it's just to be where your feet are is a common phrase, and I think that's just way too limiting. For me, I think of being fully engaged, heart, mind, and body, unattached to what you're trying to do. And at the highest level of being fully engaged, there's a total sense of freedom, joy, a sense that anything is possible. That's what we're working on getting to. If you want to call that being fully present, whatever you want to call it, total freedom, it doesn't matter to me, but that's what we're working on getting to. And to get there, it's this selfless and therefore fearlessness that we're pursuing. So that's where I start with every client. It's like, how do you want to feel when you're performing? It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a street sweeper or a school teacher or a pro athlete. I want to know when you're at your best and when you feel your best, what is that like? Because we're going to start to design habits of thought and action around getting that more often and help you understand how your mind works, how fear works, and how your subconscious works, and what your heart deeply needs and wants.
You know, you caused an argument earlier today between Lauren and I. You know that, don't you, Jim?
If you need me to fly out there, I'll come over.
Okay. Well, I opened up the page that
we starting with a group hug.
There you go. Okay,
Right.
you got my attention right there. But I opened up to the page that said, "This is not a pipe."
I love that painting. Yeah.
And I looked at Lauren and I said, "Well, what the heck is it then?" You know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the beginning of the book, I put this picture of a pipe, and it's a famous painting. That's, and underneath it says, "This is not a pipe." And that's what I thought too. I was like, well, what is it? It looks like a pipe to me. And but then obviously, as we think deeper, what the artist is saying is, this is a picture of a pipe.
Right.
And to me, I there's not many pictures I put in the book, and that is one of them. And the reason is because we are all operating in a world that is not the world as it is.
Yeah, the map is not the territory, right?
Man, if I had a gold star and I was there, I would run over there right now and pin that on your chest.
Don't worry, Lauren did that earlier for me.
I got it. I got you covered.
Thank you, Lauren. So yes, the map is not the territory. Back when I was a kid, we had these little paper rectangular things that you unfold in the car. It takes up both seats, and you got to fold it down to try and find something. We don't have these digital things. And then, but the question is that map actually that map of Austin, Texas? Is it actually Austin, or is it a representation of Austin?
Of Austin,
absolutely. Is that picture of a pipe? Is that actually a pipe, or is that a representation? And so it's the crucial thing to understand is that you don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are.
Absolutely.
You see the representations of the world that you've created in your mind through all of your pain and fears and wounds, and that's the world that you see. And I'm here to help you see the world closer to what it really is, a world of beauty and possibilities.
Inner Excellence. That's the name of the book. You got to get this thing, folks. Jim Murphy is the author of that book, and he's our life strategist today here on Strategies for a Living. More to come, more to learn. Stay with us.
Facing the same old problems day to day, made makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab strategies.
Oh, we got a lot of strategies today. We're packing them in.
I'm telling you.
Because Jim Murphy is our life strategist today. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian here on Strategies for Living. Honored to be with #1 New York Times bestselling author of Inner Excellence, Jim Murphy. It's about training your mind for extraordinary performance and the best possible life. You can find it at your favorite bookseller, wherever you buy books, out from Grand Central. And, there's so much here. It's like, where do I go here? I'd like to have about a 5-hour show with you, Jim, but the producer in the next room is shaking his head and saying, nope, you got a few minutes left. So, you say that you are not your mind. And okay, so this is kind of like the pipe thing for a lot of us, right? Okay, I'm not my mind. Well, what do you mean I'm not my mind? What the heck am I?
Oh,
Out of it.
that's a big one. This is a big one. All the listeners got to know this one for sure. You are not your mind, because, well, one, you're going to have terrible thoughts come in from the environment that have nothing to do with you. And if you think you're your mind, you're going to go down a rabbit hole. It's going to be hard to get out of, and you're going to have limiting beliefs that are really going to limit you.
Yeah.
You got to realize that you are so much more than your thoughts. We're not just thinking machines. We have a heart and soul that's created for glory. And understand that what happens to most people is that they fuse with their thoughts. They think a thought, and then they believe it and fuse with it, and then becomes a belief that runs their life. And so we need to understand that there's some thoughts that have nothing to do with us. They're terrible, horrible thoughts that we all have come into our mind from the environment. And we just got to let them go and focus on the next good one.
Right. And,
Inner excellence is training your mind. And so that's what part of it is, to understand that I am not my mind. Part of me that needs training, the most important part that needs training, so we can get that heart to be whole.
That's what I want to make sure that people understand, Jim, because we're obviously we do have only an hour. A lot of authors say, oh gosh, an hour, man. But, an hour really is nothing when it comes to a book like this. What I want our audience to understand is we're going over the surface here today.
Yeah.
But this book is packed.
It really is. And I love that you include, exercises so that we can really be involved and go ahead and start putting this into action. Yes.
Yes. I love the code of the samurai that you've included here too. Sometimes I think it takes a group of warriors to master my ego.
What's amazing about the Code of the Samurai was my mom is full Japanese, and her family comes from a samurai lineage.
I read
which
that.
I wrote about. And I didn't know, when I was narrowing down the philosophy of inner excellence, that love, wisdom, and courage were the kind of the 3 pillars. I didn't know that was the 3 pillars of the Samurai Code, the Bushido, is love, wisdom, and courage. I found out afterwards.
Wow.
So that that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing that I love. We were talking off the air a minute ago about one of my radio heroes that used to say, and that's the rest of the story, the great Paul Harvey. And that's the other thing that I love about this book is you include a lot of stories. And I think that's what really teaches, that you bring in the story of everybody from John Wooden to you to monks and people in between. So I mean, but the stories are what make it relatable to every one of us, I think. So thank you for including so many stories.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the thing that I want every listener to understand is that you've got a story in your life, and I want you to think about, is the story I've been telling myself true? And which part of it has not been true? And make sure that because we all have a story about our lives, and those stories are dotted with failures and fears. And then they become these limitations these narratives that we carry around with us our whole lives. And it's so important to know that there's hope and that there's a better way to live. And you don't have to live carrying your past with you. You can let it go, but first it takes the willingness. Am I willing to let my past go? And with it, the fears that came with it. Yeah.
We were kind of touching on this earlier, but there is no failure. There's only feedback. And, we gotta, if we're able to learn and grow, then we embrace our failures and move forward.
The mindset of inner excellence is I compete to raise the level of excellence in my life, to learn and grow in order to raise it in others, including my opponent. Yeah. And so when you have some success, it's hard to grow. But when you have challenge and adversity, that's where we grow the most. The problem is that's not my favorite part. Is the part where I don't succeed. And I just finished writing another book called The Best Possible Life: How to Live with Deep Contentment, Joy, and Confidence No Matter What, about the spiritual life. And in there I talk about the heart and the best possible life has one foot in joy and one foot in suffering. Yeah. And it's not how I would have drawn it up. If I was God, I would have said, you know what, I'm going to go with 1 foot in joy, 1 foot in joy. How about that?
That's what we all want.
But that's not how the universe works. Right. You have to share in the glory, you have to share in the suffering. If you want to get physically strong, you have to break the muscles down. There's no other way. You want to gain wisdom, you got to go through things, and you got to embrace difficulty as your teacher and embrace discomfort. Be willing to face your fears. You start to do some of those things and let go of the fear of looking foolish and embrace, say, am I willing to look foolish? Am I willing to fail in a big way in front of others, no matter what the cost of what people think of me? Then you got possibility.
Yeah. Well, now that I know you've got another book written, you're going to have to promise to come back. And
got an excuse to bring it back.
we'll extend you as life strategist. How about that?
Oh, man, I love you guys. If you'll have me back, I'd love to come back.
You've got an open door invitation. In the meantime, folks, your invitation is to go get a copy of this book. This book can change lives. It's called Inner Excellence: Train Your Mind for Extraordinary Performance and the Best Possible Life. Jim Murphy is its author, and you can find it wherever you buy books, your favorite bookseller. Back in a moment to wrap up our conversation today with Jim Murphy here on Strategies for Living. Be right back. That's what I love about this show. I love here on Strategies for Living getting to learn from some of the best, including the author of Inner Excellence, Jim Murphy. #1 New York Times bestselling author, Jim Murphy, I might add. Jim, we've just barely scratched the surface of all that is packed into this book. So what do you want to really leave with us today? What do you want people who are hearing us today and hearing about inner excellence, what do you want us to take away?
Yeah, there's so much out of your control today, and there's so much fear and anxiety and tension and even violence. And I want every listener to know that there's hope. And no one can bring to the world what you can bring. No one has your experiences, your understandings, the wounds that you've gone through, the challenges you've been through. And that's what the world needs. And you can do that. Think of the 4 daily goals. give the best of what you have every day, no matter what that is. It may not be good some days. Be present, be grateful, focus on your routines and only what you can control. Start to do that every day. You can put one foot in front of the other and you can make things happen.
Oh,
good stuff, Jim Murphy. Good stuff.
Thank you.
I look forward to the next time that we get to hang out a little bit and get to spend a little time together.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
Absolutely. And thank you for this wonderful work that you're doing. Keep up the good work and know that you've got an open invitation right here on Strategies for Living.
Thank you so much.
Folks, go get a copy of Inner Excellence wherever you buy books. Jim Murphy is the author. And come back and join us often here on Strategies for Living. Catch our podcast. You can download Strategies Podcast wherever you get your podcast.
That's right.
And we appreciate our sponsors that make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing
Roof, roof.
and Learning RX and the Balanced Life Wellness Center and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies too. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call for Jim Murphy and for Lauren Leon McMillian. I'm David McMillian. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.